The Madame Koi Koi Nightmare. Hook, a 17-year-old boy, sprints down a long, cavernous school hallway after dark. He's gasping for air, bare feet slapping against the cold linoleum in a frantic rhythm of pure terror. Behind him, another sound echoes, sharp and unnervingly steady. Koi koi. Koi koi. The deliberate click of a woman's heels, walking at a calm pace. The calmness is the most terrifying part. It means she doesn't have to run. The boy yanks open a heavy classroom door, stumbles inside, and slams it shut. He leans against it, chest heaving as the footsteps stop. Silence. He squeezes his eyes shut, a single, foolish moment of relief washing over him. That's when a voice, smooth as silk and cold as the grave, whispers from the shadows at the back of the room. "You're not safe from her in here." The boy's eyes snap open, wide with a new and different fear. The voice slides closer. "But you're not safe from me either." Amara, the beautiful devourer, was bored. The souls of Victoria Island's elite, full of greed and fleeting power, had become predictable. Bright sparks, easily snuffed out. She craved something new, a place where the energy was purer, more concentrated, a place where fear was already an old, respected resident. She found it within the walls of King's Royal College, a prestigious Lagos boarding school steeped in a century of history. Its halls hummed with the hopes, anxieties, and raw potential of Nigeria's future. For Amara, it was a banquet hall waiting to be opened. A new hunt with a new set of rules. Here, her power would be tested not on jaded millionaires, but on the vibrant, volatile souls of the young. Inside the crowded common room, Saini and Tunde were mid-argument. Tunde, a guy with no time for superstition, scrolled through his phone, laughing. "Are you serious?" Tunde scoffed. "You actually believe those ghost stories the seniors used to scare us? Don't go out after the lights out, or Madame Koi Koi will get you. It's childish." Sini glanced nervously over his shoulder, his voice low. "It's not a story, Tunde. It's a warning. My grandfather went to this school. He said she's as much a part of these walls as the foundation itself." Tunde rolled his eyes. "Right, and I should be terrified of a ghost in high heels? Please. The only real predator here is Mrs. Adebayo from the maths department." But Sini wasn't listening. His eyes were locked across the room on a new substitute teacher, Miss Amara. She had only arrived a week ago, a breathtaking vision who seemed to glide more than walk. Boys fumbled their words around her, girls watched with a mix of awe and envy. Her beauty felt unnatural, magnetic. And Sani felt a prickle of fear that had nothing to do with old ghost stories. It was the sharp, fresh fear of a mongoose watching a cobra. He saw the way the head prefect, David, looked at her, and he saw the way she looked back, like a gourmet admiring her next meal. Later that night, long after the bells signaled lights out, Tunde found Sani huddled under his blanket, staring at old yearbooks with a tiny reading light. "Still trying to spook yourself?" Tunde whispered, dropping onto the bunk beside him. "I'm telling you, man, something is off," Sani insisted. "This new teacher shows up from nowhere. And now, just listen." He held up a hand. From far away, so faint it was almost imaginary, came a rhythmic tap. Tap, tap. They say that's how it starts. A sound you can't quite place. Tunde sighed, deciding to humor him. "Fine, tell me the story. The real story of Madame Koi Koi." Sini leaned in, his eyes wide in the dim light. "Her name was Areti, a teacher here in the 50s. She was beautiful but cruel, vicious, famous for one thing, her bright red high-heeled shoes. The sound of those heels, koi 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 on the marble floors, was the sound of doom. If you heard her coming, you were done for. They say she beat students for the smallest mistakes. One day she slapped a girl so hard she burst her eardrum." He paused, letting the silence hang in the air. "That girl's parents were powerful. They had her fired. Humiliated, Iridi stormed out, swearing revenge on the students who cost her everything. She never made it home. Died in a car crash that night. But her rage didn't. Her spirit returned here, to the school. Now she walks the halls at night, forever looking for students to punish, and the only warning you get is the sound of her red heels, the sound that gave her the name Madame Koi Koi." Tunde was quiet for a moment. The distant tapping had stopped. He forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow, even to his own ears. "It's a tragic story, Sini. But that's all it is, a story." Amara chose her first target with ease, David, the head prefect. He was perfect, ambitious, respected, with a soul that glowed with pride and fierce, youthful energy. She didn't need a dark hallway. Her methods were far more subtle. She summoned him to her classroom under the pretense of discussing his leadership duties. "You carry so much responsibility, David," she said, her voice a low melody that seemed to bypass his ears and hum directly in his bones. She circled her desk, her presence making the air in the room feel thick. "A natural leader. But I see the pressure it puts on you, the weight of it all." David, who had never felt unsure of himself, was suddenly hit with a wave of exhaustion, a loneliness he never knew he possessed. I just do my best, Ma." "I know," she whispered. She was behind him now, her fingers resting lightly on his shoulders. A jolt, both icy and electric, shot through him. "But you don't have to carry it all. Let me help. Let me take some of that weight." His mind went foggy. The room seemed to tilt. Her voice was the only constant, a soothing balm on a wound he never knew existed. He felt his energy, his ambition, his very life force draining away, flowing into her. It wasn't painful. It was a relief. He slumped forward onto the desk, a placid smile on his face, his eyes vacant. Amara inhaled deeply, her own eyes glowing with a faint predatory light. A delicious appetizer. But as the last wisp of David's soul vanished, she frowned. The classroom lights flickered. A cold draft swept through the room, though the windows were sealed shut. She dismissed it. A quirk in the old building's wiring. The next evening, David was found wandering the campus, listless and empty, unable to remember his own name. A ripple of panic tore through the student body. Rumors of a sudden, mysterious illness spread like fire. But Sini knew better. He recognized the look of someone whose light had been extinguished. He'd seen it in David's eyes. And he'd seen a similar hunger in Miss Amara's. That night, the sounds began again. Not faint this time. The koi 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 was unmistakable, echoing from the East Wing corridor. It was a sound that scraped at the nerves, a promise of methodical, inescapable dread. In her classroom, savoring the aftertaste of David's soul, Amara heard it. An intrusion. An annoyance. This was her hunting ground. This feast was hers. Who dared interfere? Her next target was Bola, the school's star athlete. Amara found her practicing late in the empty gym, but just as Amara began to weave her hypnotic spell, the steady rhythm of the bouncing basketball was joined by another sound. Koi koi. Koi koi. It came from just outside the gym doors. The lights overhead buzzed and flickered violently. Bola froze, her eyes wide with terror, staring at the doors. The trance shattered. "Did you hear that?" Bola whispered, her confidence dissolving. For a fleeting second, Amara's perfect mask of a face dropped. Annoyance hardened her features. This ghost was becoming a pest, scaring off her prey before she could enjoy the hunt. "It's just the wind," Amara snapped, her voice losing its silky edge. But the sound grew louder, closer. Ko ko koi. It was right outside. Bola screamed and dropped the basketball. She didn't spare Amara a single glance. She bolted for the emergency exit, her mind consumed by a primal inherited terror. She fled into the night, escaping one monster only to run blindly into the domain of another. Bola ran without thinking, her only goal the sanctuary of her dorm. She took a shortcut, a covered walkway that passed the old disused library. The air turned intensely cold. The sound of her own frantic footsteps was completely drowned out by the impossibly loud, rhythmic clicking behind her. Koi, 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 koi. It was right on her heels. She didn't dare look back. Suddenly, a figure stepped from the library's shadows, blocking her path. It was Miss Amara. Her face was beautiful in the moonlight, but her smile was gone. She looked furious. Running so soon, Amara's voice was sharp, stripped of all warmth. "We weren't finished." Bola skidded to a halt, trapped. Behind her, the relentless footsteps of Madame Koi Koi. In front of her, the beautiful teacher whose eyes now burned with possessive hunger. There was nowhere to go. The walkway was a cage. The clicking stopped. The silence that fell was heavy and absolute. Amara's eyes were locked on Bola, but she felt a presence take shape in the darkness behind the terrified girl. A tall, slender silhouette of a woman made of shadow and moonlight. The only thing clearly visible was her shoes. Bright, blood-red heels, gleaming as if they were brand new. For the first time in centuries, Amara felt something akin to surprise. This was no mere echo, no psychic residue. This was a presence, an ancient, territorial spirit bound by a singular, burning rage. Madame Koi Koi wasn't just a sound in the halls. She was a sentinel of vengeance, and she did not like anyone else hunting in her domain. The legends, it turns out, are very real, and the halls of King's Royal College have become a battleground for two ancient evils, with the students caught squarely in the middle. So, have you ever heard strange sounds in your school after dark? Does your town have its own version of the Madame Koi Koi story? We want to hear about it. Share your experiences and your local legends in the comments below. The air crackled, thick with competing energies. Amara's power was one of calculated, seductive hunger. Madame Koi Koi's was a chaotic storm of pure, undiluted rage. The ghost didn't seem to see Amara as a rival, just an obstacle. Her focus was on the student. To her, all students were a symbol of her long ago betrayal. With a shriek that was utterly inhuman, the shadow of Madame Koi Koi lunged not at Amara, but straight for Bola. In that split second, Amara made a choice. This single soul wasn't worth a messy, direct conflict with such a primal force. There was no artistry in this ghost's fury, no finesse, just raw, ugly power. With a grace that defied physics, Amara melted back into the shadows she came from, abandoning her prey. Bola was left alone to face the vengeful teacher. Her scream was cut short as the darkness swallowed her whole. A moment later, Tunde, woken by the scream, peered out his dorm window. He saw nothing but the empty walkway below. He was about to turn away when his eyes caught a glint of color on the ground. Lying perfectly in the center of the path, as if placed there, was a single blood-stained red high-heeled shoe. He blinked, and it was gone. The nightmare was just beginning. This is just the beginning. Lagos has never seen terror like this before. If you survived Madame Koi Koi's return, prove it. Hit that like button, subscribe for part 3, and tell us in the comments, who do you think will stop her? Don't sleep tonight. She's watching. Koi. I'm not afraid of Madame Koi Koi if you watch till the end. Coming up, part 3,